to another episode of Leanne's Paradise in the Edinburgh Fringe. Today's guest has walked all the way from Australia, and in particular, Adelaide,
and
to be here. And he is a man with a very varied background. I believe you told me that you've been in Fringes since 2008, 2007.
Yes. I roped into a show in Adelaide Fringe in about 2007, 2008. Friend of a friend needed a dancer. I wasn't a dancer, but I was a tall man, and that was good enough. And then halfway through the show, one of the things we were meant to be doing went wrong. I handled it well, and she was like, great, come back tomorrow. We want you specifically for that, no longer as a dancer. From then on, I was a trombone player, a clown, toured the world with her. She changed paths to do country music, and I just started writing my own shows and kept going. Now we're here.
And so with the Fringe journey, you've done a lot of the Australian Fringes. You've done like American Fringes as well, maybe?
Actually, in America, yeah, I've been asked for Tampa Fringe a few times, and I've been asked for, what's the one in,
Yeah.
I'm going to, but I can't. And the one in Canada, I forget, there's like a big one. Keep getting asked to do that, but I can't justify the flight, so okay.
But I'll be honest, the UK, the Edinburgh Fringe is a bit exploitative, and like, I don't know what the Australian Fringe is like. I heard that they were brilliant from the start. Since they became more famous, they started to become exploitative. But American Fringes are even more exploitative in that you have to pay to even be in a submission, and there's still a chance that you won't get in.
Yeah, I mean, again, I haven't had to endure that yet. And I think that's the beauty of being asked, is it's usually the sponsor that's basically saying, I'll foot that bill because I believe you'll get eaten. You still won't. Like, we don't know yet, but, you know, it's that sort of risk is covered. I think it is a bit of a cancerous thing that a lot of fringes over time, money comes in and corporations want a piece of the cheese and it suffers. So smaller fringes like Park Fringe and things like that, they're great because they're too small. Nobody wants corporate fingers in that, but also the city doesn't even know it's happening.
Okay.
Like we did Prague Fringe, we had our mainline spot in the centre of the main venue that was the Fringe hub for that year. Oh. And so often people would be wandering up to that bar, just having gone around like, oh, Fringe is happening. Like, hosted everywhere now. Like, I don't know how to tell you more, but.
So it's a bit of a madness that I heard also a friend of mine went to a lot of places in like Vietnam or Thailand, and there'd be a bunch of expats there, and he said, oh, we can do a show on that. You'll just call people up and there's 50 people in it. And here, I remember doing a clown show physical theatre show in some small village in Italy. And it was filled with 8 people. It's funny when there's not that much going on in certain places. It's so much easier to, people in a festival like this, everyone's desperate for even a tiny bit of attention.
Yeah, I think that's evident, like just downstairs, just before waiting for you, there was a shot of flyering out front. And they're all really excited to flyering a show with a decent sounding concert. And everybody walking past was horrified that they're being handed flyers. Your city's been overwhelmed with this every year. They know what's coming. They know they're going to get flyed. You're going to walk around a collection of Pablo by the end of the day. Adelaide's much the same for its Fringe. But in a small city where that's not usual, that'll work. Yeah. Like if you came out and presented part of your act in a way that was fun and people are walking past and you hand them a flyer and that's not what we're used to, they'll go, well, this is interesting. Tell me more. And it'll work. Flyering works until a point where you get to a big Fringe. And then it's like, yeah, I've got hundreds of flyers and everybody telling me they've got the best show in the Fringe and I can't believe any of it. And I'm not a well, and I'm going to see none of it.
Would you get more of attention if someone knows this is the shittiest show on the Fringe? It's going to scar you for life. You don't want to come to this. Would that make you?
I was saying this to a friend just a couple of days ago. There was a clown in Adelaide. I forget his name, which is Sharon, because he was very, very funny. But he had this concept once where he got pissed off seeing a review that was 4.5 stars. And it was glowing. So all I think absolutely loved him. He gave him 4.5 stars. And he's basically was at the arts bar with us afterwards. What do I have to do for 5? What do you have to do for a bloody 5-star review these days? And he said, you know what? I'm going to change my concept. And he went in the next day and he changed all of his posters, went around plastered over all of his posters and left a gap underneath for reviews. You know, like you see a lot of posters like a 5-star review and a little cool quote or whatever. He left a big gap there so that he could update it. And he went and did his show. And he said at the end, if you want to give me a review, And it's look, please do 5 stars. If it's anything under 5, give me a 1-star review with a good pull quote. And by the end of the season, he went over and taped over all his posters with 5 separate 1-star reviews. And that was his sitting review. He was like, it's all bullshit. I've got 5 stars. They were separate reviews, but I've got 5 stars. And a lot of reviewers with Kangaroo shows still gave him like 3, 3.5. And he was like, I don't care. I'm not reading it. I only read it if it's a 5 or and I like that because it basically just stops the whole, we don't want you to. I think in Australia there's a big like tall poppy syndrome that all people get too big-headed about stuff. And that was a way that prevents it. They'll only give you 4 stars because it wasn't perfect, It was Fringe.
I heard that sort of thing they did with the Logan Paul and KSI, and that was a cop. That's what I was talking to someone a while ago, and they said, it's been repeating history, and that what Logan Paul, KSI thing is too copy shit.
Australia doesn't want to get around a lot of that kind of hyper-Americanism, or at least Adelaide. I don't know about all of Australia, I can't speak for them all, but they don't tend to get around that hyper-Americanisms and like we're top dogs, because at the same, most Australians like, are you? Like we can sit through it, and we know where you came from. Like we remember Japan. So I think it's so. Chris Hemsworth is an interesting one where we still love him, even though he's fucking singing in every way because he's not excited about it. But if he ever came out and was like, I'm the shit, and meant it, Australia would cut him off from the head and be like, off you go to America.
In Britain, we're a bit like that as well, but I get a feeling from what you said in Australia, you're 10 times worse with that in terms of someone gets too big-headed, you rip them till they cry to their mummy. Which
is a really tough thing with performing, because you want to do the best you can, and you want to believe you're the best, and you want to go positively into all of these situations and be like, I'm going to do my show tonight. It's going to be the best I've ever done it. But if you go out there and you come off stage and go, wow, that was the best I've ever done it, someone will be like, good on you. Are you sure you missed the line? Everyone will immediately find a way to cut you back down. And it's not malicious. It's just that's the culture. And we all suffer from it, because you can see artists that are really good, they never want to say they're good. They're always like, but you were great. And they always deflect to someone else. You were great tonight. And they're begging for someone to say that they were great because they can't say it themselves. If you do, you fall off.
Do you have that, guys? If someone comes across it, I'm the bollocks, I'm the shit. Do you feel that in Edinburgh as well? And you as Alex, if someone gets a bit too, I'm the shit, Bob?
Yep, absolutely. Yes.
What's been the funniest and most interesting takedown you guys have come across in your life, or someone that's gone too? Because that is a thing that maybe Britain shares with Australia. We love if someone gets too up their arse.
And everyone's very deflective straight away. Like, I think Britain's very good for it, and Australia's very good for it. As soon as you start realizing you're really good, you either start talking about how great someone else is, or you go, I'm not that good. I could have improved at this. Or you start something else. You do something weird on the side, and you're like, yes, you think I'm good at this thing. Say it's surfing. I'm even really good at surfing. I'm going to start golf now. It's the Michael Jordan method. So I'm the king of basketball. Now I better start doing a different sport. I'll try baseball. It's like, you were so good at basketball, and you're in a country that adores people who are incredible at things and doesn't cut them down for being incredible. Just keep doing that.
All I know about Michael Jordan's basketball career is I watched Space Jam. And I remember him failing and getting back into basketball, and then these aliens stealing a basketball player's talent, and then he says that.
Well, that part was real, but in baseball, also, it was a real easy legitimately stop playing basketball at peak of his career and then went and did baseball. Again, I'm not a sport guy, but I think that is almost adopting what England and Australia did around a lot is the top popism going like, everybody's telling me I'm great, and I'm great, sure, but I'm tired of being told I'm great. I want to go back to getting good at something. The process of getting good is quite fun for me.
If, when Conor McGregor was at his peak and so successful and all that, if he was in Australia or England, do you think he'll get ripped to shreds when he was at his peak?
Why do you think he's so short? He took his legs out. I think he did come to Australia at one point, and it just wasn't well received, because he's very underrepresented. And I think I'm not a UFC person myself, but I know a lot of my friends that are into it love the real quiet ones, like a full cauliflower ear, Serbian haircuts, and they just go in there, win the fight, and walk off, and don't talk to anyone. And they're like, that's how you looked. Don't make a big thing about it. And anyway, like the guy with all his colourful hair and that Conor McGregor, it's like, we don't want you to win because you're going in thinking you're going to win. I think the biggest thing we love underdogs. There's a long history of underdog loving in Australia. I've only been to Edinburgh Fringe once before, about 8 years ago, with my ex and my son, and that was when focusing on family-based shows. But having done so many Fringes around the world and knowing this is like the mecca, this is the big one that you want to do for Fringe festivals. I went around and made sure on the nights off that I had with friends that were living in the area, I slapped up every show I could. I was walking any door that had someone flying that was starting a show in 10 minutes, and I'd grab under, I'll see you then. And saw as much as I could then, and just loved it because I can see why all the other Fringes I've done around the world and where people always talk, oh, we want to get to Edinburgh, we want to get to Edinburgh. And then you see why. It's just because it's at that point, it was really like free and fresh, and artists were trying things. And by working in Adelaide Fringe every year, most of my apart from now since I in some capacity, I've seen artists that gave up. They have an hour that they've been touring all year, and they get to the Fringe where you should be going out on a limb, trying something new, doing something weird, whatever, and they just do their hour and charge $4 Australian to about £20. And you just go, why? Like, what was the point? You can do this anytime. You've taken an hour slot and prime time slot in the biggest venue that an artist that needed that.
Yeah. That's what you said in you saw Kate Cox said. That's what's happened to Edinburgh. So many, it used to be, Edinburgh Fringe used to be where the unknowns of people trying to make their name used to come. Now you get people that already have the big name coming in, banking on it. And it's, I don't know, is it a bit like, have you seen Matrix Reloaded, where Smith is the virus? It feels like the rich people are coming and not the virus of it, and they're...
That's what I was saying before about all like small fringes have fun, they have a great time, and then the virus comes of corporations, and it starts to get a big sponsorship at the Fringe bar, or there's an installation somewhere from Vodafone, and then eventually you find that like you're going to buy your tickets, or you put your poster up, and on the poster for our show, you got to have 3 corporate sponsors underneath, and then your agent and connection to your agent. Whatever. We've been blessed to just never have an agent. We've had people approach and try to buy the concept of the show a few times, and everything. No, because we're doing well. We're doing what we want to do with it, and we don't want to spread it too far. So all these things you're offering, like global release, or we'll take up to Tampa Fringe and we'll assemble a team to run your show and you go to San Jose. But if we're not doing it, where's the fun?
Are they all with the paper cigar and they say, oh, we're going to make you the big...
Well, thankfully, I'm not the person that's the contact point for that. The old shows I did was so off the wall. We'd never get any corporate sponsorships off that. But what Aaron and the team here for Lost in Translation have done is have a really good concept that just works. It's something that can be done. You could hand the show to any troupe and they pull off. It might not be as good. It might not work the same way because people approach it differently. And I think that's where Aaron holds on to it a little bit to go, or Aaron and Sophie and the team, hold on to it a little bit to go, this works our way because we're in charge of it, or we know what we want out of it. And when we loosen the reins a bit, it turns a bit like a careless and silly sort of show, but it's not that. The premise is silly. What we're doing is keeping it as serious as possible, trying to act in the situation, which is that.
And what do you, so with all the Fringe you've been to, you see how it's going in now, how would you say the Adelaide Fringe is different to the Edinburgh Fringe? Because the Adelaide Fringe has become famous. Have you become clones of each other?
It's on the line. I will say that. I think if we put a scale of a city that's never done the Fringe at all at 0 and Edinburgh at 100, I would say Adelaide's at about 70. We're by no means anywhere near Edinburgh on scale and size and support. but the next Fringe underneath would only be at like 40. You know, that there's billions of like tiny little Fringes all over the world in little cities and having a good time. Adelaide's big, nowhere near Edinburgh, but like big. And then there's a big step down to third and under. And so we're working hard to sort of get up to that point. But our city's not as sprawling as Edinburgh is. Like Adelaide is very much a designated square surrounded by parklands. And if you really want to spread the Fringe into the surrounding suburbs, there's a full-on disconnect between the city itself, parklands, suburb. So as much as that's a physical distance and barrier, people see it out as well. Like tourists come in, stay in Adelaide City, and once they see Fringe stuff, they get to the edge of the parklands like, that's where people live. That's not where the Fringe is anymore. And it kind of works physically because in Fringe being the outer, all of the major Fringe rooms are on the outer in the parklands. And then like the bar I work at was Comedy Club in Adelaide. That's more in the centre. We feel a bit weird because we're in the south and we're an already existing comedy club. We are not Fringe. So we try to bring in, like I said before, acts that are trying something new, or acts that are trying something weird, or taking a chance on, you know, people that just won a local open mic night kind of stuff. Like, now's a chance. Fringe is here. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But that's kind of the best time.
So I heard from Mark Ryan, he says that it's Adelaide, apart from the Fringe, pretty quiet.
Yeah, well, which is a blessing. It's why, like, no matter where I travel, no matter what I do as I go, I just always will come back to Adelaide because, it's a quiet place and it's comfortable and it's a great place to raise a kid. But during the Fringe, it's mentioned. They really ramp it up and they unfortunately cram a lot of other things. Like there was a car race that they used to cram in on one of the weekends during the Fringe. Overlapped it with the Adelaide Festival itself. So it was like the Fringe Festival was designed as an addition to the main festival. So the Edinburgh Festival is happening either before or after, I forget. I'm not level. But Adelaide is the same thing. Usually they're separate and the Fringe Festival's before or after. I don't know which because I never really see much Adelaide Festival stuff. But now they're starting to overlap them and have this time. And trying to introduce some golf tournament at the same time. I'm like,
what?
One thing at a time. Like, let us get through the hell of Fringe and then have a little cut.
Yeah, a golf tournament. I heard there's a Fringe in the UK called Fellowship. They have the one for the wine flip. And they originally did it during the wine flip, but none of them came from the wine flip to that.
Yeah.
And was it the same with the Oasis like last year? Did any of them come into Fringe?
Normally I try to avoid Edinburgh during the Fringe.
There's a lot of people that do the same thing. Like they'll Airbnb out their house, not as a malicious way of trying to make money, but because I don't want to be there. And we know other people do want to be there. So we'll just take them on holiday and some of them live in their wives.
Yeah, I remember like flying, I think 2 or 3 years ago, and people were moaning, all these fucking pricks coming in here during the Fringe. They're like, and some of them are probably just going to work. Maybe they'd be shouted at by a accountant in the office for misfiling papers. And they got some prick flying and oh, here's this great show.
Yeah. It's because I'm staying at the moment in Musselburgh. It was like one train stop out at the university. And it's interesting to see a university on its like holiday period where there's not as many students. And there's just a bunch of weirdo Fringe people who are walking around with their Fringe passes out in the road. Hey, I see you all. We're all part of this. We're all like, but at the same time, we're overtaking this poor university and walking through Musselburgh. It's nice, again, quiet town like Adelaide, in my opinion. Everyone's just looking at you like, they see your Fringe pass. I'm not going to fly you, I promise. I don't like I'm really bad for it with the higher flyers because I don't like flying people, but if I'm in a conversation with them and they genuinely show me in the show, I'll talk about it and I'll have a flag in my bag and I'll offer it, but it's never a case of like, take this now, come to my show. And I think that unfortunately becomes the norm for a lot of shows to either don't know the process of flying or aren't making a human connection in the way they're flying. I've had some really great experiences just this week with flyers. Saw some great shows based off of someone handing me something because it was genuine. It wasn't a paid flyer I handed it to me. It was them from their show, out of costume, and just going like, let's have a conversation. We're happy we hang around the same bar. And then they're like, oh, it sounds like we get on. If you like, and I like the same things, you'll probably like the show I'm doing because it's based on things I like. And then when I handed him mine, he was just like, oh, it's movie based. I fucking love it. It's great. And he started on his list. Yep, that one is one I'll get around. A couple other comedian buddies came over and saw what we were talking about. They're like, oh, movie show? Yeah, we're in. And that seemed like a more organic way of flying. But that sort of community stuff you can't do where you're standing on street corners going, show, and handing out paper.
That is one thing that I do find in Edinburgh, people are a lot more friendly than in London.
Yeah.
What, so speaking of flying the show, so you've been through the Fringes, you know what not to do.
Yes. Yeah. And flying used to be the best. I used to be good at it. It was because I was a clown who was mute. It was great because I didn't have to say anything. I didn't have to yell at me to come to my show. I was just in costume with flyers in my hand and I just hold it. It's completely up to you whether you take it. And if you ask me questions about the show, I got nothing. I'm not telling you a thing. It's all on the fly. And that was the greatest system because you're not pressuring anyone. You're not pushing the flyer in their face. You're standing there with flyers. If you are interesting to them, they'll probably have an interest in your show. If you're not interested with them, they won't take the flyer. Everybody wins. But that was meant from a concept of a show that was quite laid back and quite small, which meant that you weren't having to push it. Whereas big circus acts, they need to be intense and high energy. And that's the ones that want to fly in with intensity and high energy, which again, if you're not into that and you're scared of that intensity and high energy, you're not going to take the flyer and you're not going to grab that show. But if you like that energy, they give it to you. And I think it's the mediums in between that are just people going, come to my show. And you ask them what's it about and they start going, sure. Who's your market? Who are you trying to sell? I think that's where we learned a lot early on was who's our market. And if you walk around seeing people that are probably going to like your show, right, fly there, not everyone.
What are the questions you should ask yourself if you're trying to get people to show in terms of finding the right people?
Who comes to your shows now? Like if you're already doing this and you look out in the audience, who's there? Are you looking at a bunch of 50-arms and no young people? Great. Don't be upset about that. Just make sure that when you're doing your firing, you're only going towards people that you reckon are 50-arms. And if you're the opposite, if you can't see a single old person in your crowd while you're performing, don't go up to grandmas and granddads and try and give them flyers because you're wasting paper, you're wasting time, and you're creating a negative perspective about your show overall. Because everybody on all ends of the spectrum will talk about your show in one way or the other. If you're going out and flyering aggressively to people who are not your market, they will talk. And even people that did like your show might hear that and go, sounds like it's not for me. No. And I think I've seen a lot of shows that are pushy because that's the vibe of their show, which is again kind of narrowing their market. Because if that's the kind of people that you want in your show anyway, great, that'll work. And it will push away the people that don't want your show. But rarely is a pushy show going to actually get big numbers.
No.
Those are the companies that need to be doing digital social media pushes, which is what we've sort of angled into for ours, is having digital social media and light flyering with it. And any flyers we pay, we're very free on that. Don't just sling these at everyone. Speak to people that you think are into movies, find out which movie they like, and then direct them to that show. So it doesn't have to be coming tonight. Just pick the movie that has interest in you, come to that. And that works a lot better because people don't feel pressured. People aren't told, come see us tonight, we're running an hour, come. It's like, at your own leisure, enjoy it.
And for anyone that's listening right now and they want to find out what show to come and watch you, we don't reveal a surprise of what the show is about or because we don't reveal too much before the show and watch. But what is the show about and what can they expect? Who is this for and what will they get out of it?
We're very blessed in that our show can be for anyone and it's no one specific. It's more about if you're in movies and the specific movies that we do. Because the concept of it is we take classic movie scripts that are all free, available online, put them through Bing Translate. We can't use Bing Translate because it's too good. So put it in 4 or 5 languages back into English, and then hand that to actors on stage. They're not allowed to read them beforehand. They're all laid out on the chairs, and our cast comes out only knowing what characters they're going to be. Pick up the script, and we just have to read what we're given. It's all highlighted for them. It's all as easy as possible for them to stay in character. And so the real challenge is just knowing what accents you've got to do. So if you're playing Boromir and Pippin and Sauron, you just have to know those three vibes and then read whatever the hell is presented in front of you.
This is a bit maybe Jamaican for like Sauron or like Italian for
Sauron. Too much away. Sauron often becomes Sharon. But so does Sauron. So we just have this like over domineering Sharons, which is like an Australian term for a Karen. So it's very funny to have like the whole of Middle Earth suffering under the heel of Lord Sharon. And the Fellowship of the Ring is often like the circle mates or like there's something, it never quite lines up with what you expect. But because of the translation, there's almost like a joke in every line from something that being translated has said. No. After all that you've done, this is the original sentence. But not even close. But yeah, so we've got Lord of the Rings, Mean Girls, The Mummy, Jurassic Park. Like there's a big spread of films. So my son was very little, probably first show of ours that he saw, he was about 8, because he wanted to see the Lord of the Rings one. And we specifically had a night that was for kids. This was not that night. And so he came and saw it. I Lord of the Rings show afterwards. It's like, Dad, you said some naughty words. And I'm like, sure you saying some weird shit. Unfortunately, all of them tend to get like weirdly horny. The more horny the film is, being translated turns it really full on. And then last night we did The Mummy. And, that's got some heated things with it and a whole lot of hot people. Not ours. Not the people that you think would be flirting with each other are. Imotet and Benny they were getting really flirty. I don't understand how that happened, but okay, Danny.
Would you ever mess them around a bit and put like a script from like Mean Girls into The Mummy or some sort of,
Well, this is the thing, and it's not, because we don't use AI, we only been translated, but I'm sure there's some metadata that gets help. Because so often we've done certain films so many times that there will be mention of like Sam Gamgee come up in one of our other scripts because it would be Sam at some point. And Ben's sort of going like, when you translate, you often have Samwise Gamgee. And there's a Sam here. I'm going to translate it. I think you want Samwise Gamgee. No. Whatever the original word was, try and fucking translate it in the language we fucking said. Stop giving this. So there's crossovers we didn't plan. There's things that happen that we were completely unaware of. And the best part is, the guys that run it, they often review the script after a show and go, this was good, but this didn't work, or this joke didn't land, or people weren't paying attention for this. So we need to rejig it or put it back through translate, bring it back, see what we get new. So no matter how many times I've done this show, and films that I've done 5 days in a row with them, it's never the same. And even if it is, I'm not playing the same characters. So it's great because it's all fresh to me. It always surprises me, and to add our sound techs and let them have a bit of fun and improvise with us. But we used to just go, there's a song cue here, outside of that, just keep the lights on, we'll handle it. Now we're like, there's a spotlight if you want it. You can change the coloring of the lighting if you like, if it fits. You've got to copy the script, figure out what you want to do. If this sound effects you want to throw in, go for it. But we try and get proud to be our sound effects for the most part.
Yeah.
And last night in The Mummy, there was mention of a Dune. And as soon as the Dune gets mentioned, we get that big, screen from the Dune films. That came on. I didn't know that was coming. So I'm on stage, like, Dune gets mentioned, and then the sound tech put full volumes in the theaters, with the Dune screen, and I was like, all right, look at that now. Oh, yeah, cool. Well, I'm ready for it. Like, cool.
What's been the funniest sort of cock-up that's worked in the show? Because I interviewed someone called Spontaneous Potter, and they were a big improv troupe, but one of the guys didn't know anything about Harry Potter, and he spoke about a few funny things. But what's been a funny moment where it's a big deliberate cock-up that ended up brilliant?
Well, because the cock-ups are basically written in. All the cock-ups are there in the script. But what we do with them is our choice. There's some moments that are narrated that we could just leave be as a funny joke. And we, in our preview show of Twilight, I'm not a Twilight fan myself, but if you are, and you know near the end, James, the villain vampire, is with a video camera filming, torturing Bella, the main girl. And so in our script, he doesn't film it with a camcorder. He films it with a whole film crew. And when that got said, from clowning and improv instinct, I just ran up there and held up my hand as if I had a camera. And the beautiful thing was, usually it's just me doing something dumb. Every other cast member got up. One of them came up pretending they were boom mic. One of them came up and like snapped the thing. Put the film through right in front. And the poor actress that was playing Bella didn't know any of that was going to happen. Because it wasn't planned. So she's there trying to move through the lines on the script, knowing we're on a time limit. And she can't. She's just laughing. The crowd's losing it. And every time she goes to the mic, she's laughing more. She's about to get to her line. I moved into a little bit more. She lost it again. And it was like, it's couldn't proceed the show because just a moment that is there in the script. We weren't sure of how to do it. It's meant to be a throwaway line. It's meant to be just like, oh, he uses the video camera. Pete doesn't use the film group. And instead, now it's this whole bit. And it's moments like that I go, what we're doing is so easy to script. It can just be done straight out of the box. Get from A to B, and we're done, and we walk away. But if you're paying attention and having fun with it, it is so much better. Another time, really good one. In Adelaide, we did The Mummy, and there's a moment about pitter patter. Okay. Is it a pitter patter or something like that? And because we instinctively keep telling the audience, well, the sound effects. Whenever you think there's a sound effect, or we mention a sound effect, please do it. You're part of the show. You're the sound, the wind, the rain, the sound, the horses, all that. And we said pitter patter, and this kid in the front row I said kid, about 14, but as soon as we said pitter patter, and we never stopped for it because there's lines to put on time. And he just goes really loud in the front row, pitter patter. And we laughed. We thought it was great. It kept getting brought up. And every time we get brought up, more and more people were immediately saying pitter patter. And then the last time we got brought up, the whole room was yelling pitter patter. We're like, it's a little bit of that, like, please, it's just a little bit of that. But yeah, the things like that, the kids just done all the work for us out of nowhere and thrown us off. And what a lesson.
Did it sound, guys, sometimes a little bit messed up for a bit of a prank? Because I just feel that
Well, that's why I thought the June sound better. I thought he was fucking with us, but then I realized that Aaron had brought that in and showed it in. He just didn't tell any of us. So we didn't know it was coming. But like the sound man knew it was happening. And we've given them free reign, but they're very respectful of it. And they're trying more to do to lighting effects for us and then encourage the crowd to be as sound effects, because I think that was one of the things I love the most about Fringes is everybody come to your show, not to just sit and watch. You can do that alone now. If you go to a Fringe show, you want to be part of something. And the best shows are the ones that make you part of the show.
Yeah.
So we get straight into that and going, you're all about sound effects. We want you involved. Whenever there's like a mention of a horde of angry bees or whatever, that's you. And all the best clown shows I see do that. They all involve the crowd. And I think that's the truest stuff of the Fringe.
You know, you made some very good points there. I mean, like, I did the clowning myself with the capability, and I think improv and clown training are great for whatever you're in because they help me deal, as Philip Curley used to say, being in the shit and work with nothing and working my way around it. It's such a great thing for any performer to do. And you said something about your best shows make you feel part of a show. Yeah, I think that's so true. I've seen a few shows during my time at Fringe, and it feels like you're doing a monologue and you're not even there.
Yeah.
Like you want to feel a part of it. Like I'm watching you, make me feel a part of it. Like you're not just rehearsing through a script. We're in a live thing, being part of it. I got to do that. But no, it's a dance, isn't it, with the audience?
Yes. And I think I did see one show this season already that was a bit like that, which is frustrating because I saw him in a couple of like game show panel type shows during the day. But he was great, really responsive, playing with the crowd, playing with the competitors and having a really good time. So when he was flying and handing us about his show, I was like, awesome. I've seen how you behave. I've seen your kind of humor. I love it. I bet I love your show. Went to a show and it was a very rigid stand-up set that involved the audience, a sum total of once.
Oh.
And it was a very quick, ask you a question, get an answer, don't involve it in the show. And I was like, it's disappointing to know how good you are at letting people in and then sit for an hour and watch you tell jokes where you let no one. Which is a bit also, like I said, I want to be part of the show and we want to be part of the show and everybody wants to be a part of something. So yeah, I think that's a very important thing that a lot of shows should take away. Make sure not to put in crowd participation that doesn't make sense, but make sure that what you're doing is involving the room. Otherwise, just record it and put it on YouTube. At the end of the day, it's easier for you, it's easier for them. They can get to it if they want. If you are doing a live show, do a live show.
All very good points, and I think we've all been in shows that are like that, where if you've listened. But there's one podcast interview that I had that I uploaded last week, and it's probably one of the best podcast interviews I've had in a while. And it's with Martin Moore. He's been doing stand for 4 years, and we'll get offended when I say this, but but he said a criticism on some of the crowds that come into theatre festivals, and that their entire show is just putting people up on stage. And I remember some of the shows that I've been when there's been small audience, there's been 3 people in, and I recommend now, if I was doing a show and I brought you guys up for the entire show, you guys probably jump like a little quick, even for being detected. But that's, he says that even when he was teaching people during lockdown, they didn't have an act, even experienced clown, without bringing people up on stage. And I think there's an element of that where, you can go too far on that. It's about making it a good time, but if you're just bringing up audiences on the stage and that's your entire, what's your thoughts on that?
There's something important, and you probably resonate with it, is clown doesn't just mean bring everybody in and they're all part of it physically. It's feeling the energy of the room and understanding people. And if you're in a room and you know there's 3 people there and you're doing a show for them, but all 3 of them are like, we don't want to be brought in like that. You can tell. If you're paying attention and you have empathy, you can tell. So don't bring them on stage. But there might be one of the 3 that gets the vibe and you're like, you are my savior. I'm bringing you on and we're going to make the show together and that's it. Anything that I need someone from the crowd, it's going to be you. Because I can tell you've got the energy to do it and you 2 don't. And that's fine. You just have to pay attention to people. And soon as people get in their head, they go, well, I'm doing this and I see a woman in the front row. It doesn't matter. I want to see a woman in the front row for, and it's like, no, don't do that. Look in the front row and the second and the third and find specifically a woman, if that's what you want, who wants to do it. Because if you pull up the wrong person, you're out. I've seen you just circus the way shows and the way those clowns interact with people, they pull people that you wouldn't expect, but they've done it specifically for a reason because they know I've looked around and that big middle-aged dad will play. Whereas that kid that's, super excited, he probably won't actually play with me. And you need to be kind. And in a room, like I said, if you're a small amount of people, don't pull everybody up if you could tell they don't want to play. But if they do want to, if you've got a room of 50 people and they all want to play, find a way that you can all play.
What is an example of a great clown show you've seen where it's been done wrong and one where it's been done right? So,
I will admit, I did a clown show that I just didn't do a good job of at one point. I thought what I was doing was important. I thought I had a message and all this. It was one of my first few shows where I'd written for a big group of people, centered around selfishly myself. And I remember in the end of the first night of it and just going, no one cared about the serious parts that I was trying to present because I wasn't doing it to empathize at all with them. I was doing it to say something. And I was like, I can do that anyway. If they don't want to hear it, or if I'm saying it for the wrong reason, don't say it. And I cut a huge swath out of the show that night and switched it up and just put in all the fun stuff and all the stuff that was played because it was a lot better. It was a lot better than trying to put a message through a show that didn't need one. because, and I think it's because I was witnessing shows that were really good at putting messages through, and I thought I could do that, and I couldn't, or at least I couldn't yet without practice.
But it's an awareness of who you are as a performer and what how you come across. And there's a lot of comedians that can tell jokes that I probably couldn't tell. And there's jokes, me and you completely different.
Yeah.
And there's jokes you could tell that I definitely couldn't tell.
Yeah.
How important would you say to understand how you come across, or the persona, or whatever you're putting in stages?
The biggest piece of advice is to find a rehearsal space with a mirror. Big wall mirror. Because so often we don't know how we look when we're performing, and we won't pay attention to it, or record yourself, things like that. Because yeah, it's important how you're coming across, but you have an ideal in your own head or a perspective in your own head of how you're coming across. Do it in the mirror, do it in a recording, watch yourself afterwards, and get a real perspective of what someone else is seeing as you're performing. It changed a lot of what I did, because I thought that I was being very expressive when I first started. And when I watched all the videos of me, even knowing I was recording myself, knowing I was going to watch it back, still wasn't that expressive. And I was like, I can do so much more. Like, there's just so much more stretch in the face and your emotions and all those sort of things that I just wasn't utilizing because I thought I was doing enough. And friends around you in the industry are probably going, yeah, you're doing great. Oh, you're just so good. And so I need the realist response. And the only way to get that is when you're asking yourself and you're watching yourself.
And where would you say is the best, the audience are the biggest, honest?
Oh, yeah. Any performance you're doing, if you are so confident that what you're doing is good and you're not getting a response, they're being honest. They lie to you and go, oh, we're trying to conserve our laughter for later. It's, no. It didn't work. And I think that's where clowns are great, because you're never going straight in like a stand-up would be, a joke, waiting for a laugh. It's testing the waters and seeing where they're at and bringing them to the laughter that you hope you can get to. You might not get that. But if you go on that journey with them, that's enough sometimes. Because afterwards they'll be like, that was really beautiful. And I like trying to find the joke. We didn't get there, but we were trying.
But that's why it's good for stand-ups as well, because they could see, it puts them in the mind to be the audience first before the first word even comes out. Right?
Not as the best example of it, but just as a person, Aaron. But Jerry Seinfeld had his whole thing about the notepads he used to have. And a book he had, I read it once, and there was a photo in there of all of his notepads laid out on the street where he grew up. And he just laid notepad, all the way across the street, filled up the whole road with all the notepads jokes. And it's because every joke would be written, he'd go and do it. And if it didn't land, but he still believed in it, he rewrite or amend it and go in another night, and he would do stand-up night after stand-up after stand-up night and keep going. And if he'd done 30 stand-up nights with his joke that never got the laugh that he thought it deserved, he'd put that notepad away for another time. Give it a year or two, maybe he'll come back to it. Yeah. Never really threw out any jokes. It was just like, it didn't work because I don't know how to present it yet. But I've got these other notepads and hundreds of jokes that will work. And even that, can I put them in a better order to get more of a laugh? Or does this one work with this? Is this now a section of jokes that can be packaged into a run-on of laughs? And his method was so mathematical to get it all to work. And I think that sort of stuff is interesting to look back on and go, are we presenting best?
He's done a lot of things, hasn't he? He's very creative. Like there's a rule that he's put in himself, or he's built the habit where he puts for 27 days, he puts a tick box. And then there was another thing where apparently he watched, I can't remember this, you probably know this clearly, but he says that he watched a bin man or someone that's in construction work for 24 hours. And he says, if they can work that hard at something they hate, why can't I work that hard at something at stand-up that I love? Yeah.
I think that's, so I've always had a day job while I've been doing this sort of stuff. And I wonder if I could put the 8 hours in a day on just doing this, when I know that when I'm doing 8 hours a day in some other jobs, I switch off at a certain point. I'm like, I can't even do that. So I'm also, it's not like I can work that hard doing that job for 20 hours. I couldn't. So comedy wise, yeah, I don't know. I'd have to do it in patches.
Do you feel sometimes creatively you need a break.
Absolutely. But that's I've got ADD, and I only got diagnosed in like this year. So for 37 years, I didn't know what was going on. And so I need breaks, not because I'm running out of energy, but like my brain just doesn't allow me to focus for long periods of time.
What is it? Nearly every comic that I've met, like
I
60
know.
or 70% of stand-ups I know have ADHD,
That's
but I've
what I
still never quite got what it is. I know I've got something, but I've never sort of bothered to ask, do I have autism, do I have ADHD, do I have DDT? I know I've got something, but I never asked, but what is ADHD?
It's why I don't bring it up, because I'm not super well versed on it. I've just lived with it, you know, and it's not part of any of the act I do. I never made that my focus. It just came up then. But yeah, it's for me. I'm diagnosed with inattentive ADHD, which even in itself, both names sound like one thing. It's not. So this hyperactive ADHD, which is what everybody sees in primary school. We all grew up with multiple kids around us that were definitely hyperactive ADHD kids that were undiagnosed.
Yeah.
But the inattentive ADHD for me is it's a lack of focus. If I'm doing something without external, what's the word? Agitations, external inputs, I can't focus. So like at work, I have video podcasts on my second screen, not with video part, but like it's just podcasts I like to listen to, video based. So I have that going, and the office across the hall has to have a radio on. And with that amount of audio, before it really is mistaken, but yeah, that amount of stuff going on helps me focus on the work itself.
Oh.
If the radio wasn't on or the internet was down and I wasn't listening to podcasts, I would stare at my screen for 20 minutes straight and just be like, this is why let me do it. And it's frustrating, it's terrifying. Sometimes I sit on the couch sometimes and just go, you know what? There's my food's in the microwave. It's beeping. I should go up and get it. And I'm like, why am I having this conversation with myself about having to go up and get the thing? Why don't I just get up and fucking do it? And then 10 minutes have gone by and I'm like, I'm still having this fucking conversation. It's like, what? Can we move, body, move. Let's fucking go. And can't do it. It just won't do it. And so it's terrifying sometimes when you're just like, this could be a day. I could lose a whole day to this. If this got worse, what about it?
I've got an issue where if I'm at home or if I'm lying in bed, I don't work. I have to either go out in a coffee shop to work or find a co-worker space that doesn't work. If I'm not home, I'm too distracted. I don't do anything. I have to get out of the house. Sometimes I get depressed as well, but I have to go in a coffee shop or to do something productive. I will put the headphones on. Maybe this could sound a bit weird, but sometimes I put some calm music in the background to shut off all the noise.
Yeah. It's like a stigma of people with autism and ADHD putting on noise cancelling headphones. I get it. I don't know if it would help me because it's kind of the opposite for me, but like knowing that noise helps me in the opposite, I can see how the absence of noise could help someone. Because if you're the opposite, you just need to shut out all noise. Man, what a blessing that would be. Just have headphones that just cut everything. And you can go, there's one thing that I can focus on, and it's what's visually in front of me. Take a whole sense out, dead out of it. Now I'm at.
Do you sometimes have to I sometimes have to put a to-do list or something. And if I don't write down a list of things I have to do this week, today, or this hour, or this month, I think there's nothing else to do. And I'll sometimes just waste hours a day.
I was big on this, and my mum is like hyper over organizing. And when she wanted anything done, she always wrote this. So I got used to that. And I was like, cool, I know exactly what I need to do in this order. Great, done. And then my ex, we got a stage where lots of stuff needed to be done. She was like, do I need to write with this? And I was like, probably. Like that would probably help. But I know that writing that list is then therefore more work for you. So it's a toss up. But like, yes, I'd appreciate it, but also I probably just need to get better at knowing what needs to be done. And then secretly to write my own list and be like, nah, for this.
Oh, it's finished now. No worries. Well, for anyone that's listening right now, how did they find out about you? How they get details for your show?
Sure. The show itself, when's this coming?
So I'm publishing a Puppeteer episode this Sunday, but I'll probably publish this episode next Sunday.
So still opportunities for you to come and see Lost in Translation at the Filtered Balloon Museum at 9 p.m. I've got a list of the films somewhere, but all the best films tend to be at the tail end there. So all the ones in, but get tickets early, but they do tend to sell out. For me in particular, you can find me at DamnitLeanne on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram for sketches that I wrote a long time ago. It's just YouTube sketches and little silly billies. It's not spelled how you think. It's DAMNITLEANNE. I've been told by everybody that's wrong. It should be 2 M's, but so be it. And yeah, so that's been the best place to find me.
All right, well, guys, you know where to go. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Next episode, I think, is going to be another Australian, Laura Johnson. But yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Take care.